What's up, guys? My name is Albert Hughes. I live in Fort Worth, Texas with my wife and son and 2 dogs. And I'm the head coach and owner of Genesis Jiu Jitsu. So my first encounter with Jiu Jitsu was when I was in the military. Right after high school, I went into the military to become an aviation mechanic. And in boot camp, we had 2 days of combatives, or hand-to-hand combat training. And I noticed during that time, one of the guys was like dominating everybody. And his name was Charlie Hollander, still a good friend of mine. And he was just dominating people, getting them in guillotine chokes and triangle chokes and stuff like that, which I had no idea what he was doing exactly, really. I was not familiar with grappling at all at that time. I had done a little bit of like backyard boxing with my friends where we would just throw on gloves and try to swing at each other until we gassed out, but for fighting I was really unfamiliar. So just so happened that we went to boot camp with a bunch of guys from Iowa who love to wrestle. So even after combatives training, I would watch these guys out there, and Charlie would always end up catching them. There were some tough guys, they would stay on top of them a lot, but he would end up making them tap out and give up. And so luckily we ended up going to, after boot camp, we went to AIT together in Fort Eustis to learn how to work on helicopters. And we were roommates at that time, so we got to train a lot. At this point I had already kind of asked him like, hey man, can you show me some of that stuff? And he was really happy to share the techniques with me. And we were training all the time there in AIT together. And it was funny because a lot of the guys were always making fun of us and stuff. And like, oh, you guys are always rolling around together, you almost like each other a lot. And you can imagine some of the things that soldiers will say to us as we're, wrestling around with each other. But we just loved it. So the thing that really made me fall in love with it was seeing how dominant of a martial art it was, and that knowledge was really power in this form, where knowledge is power physically. Where if he knew more techniques than me and he knew how to apply them better, then I was pretty much helpless. And that gave, I saw that could give me a lot of confidence that I lacked for situations that I went throughout high school and middle school, where I had guys, bullying me at the bus stop, or, just not confident enough to stand up for myself in certain situations, or my friends. And I saw that this could get me there. And the moment that I always tell everybody about was one of these big guys that was always kind of giving us a hard time there at Fort Eustis. Clearly a guy that played football, he was an athlete, and a guy that I would typically be intimidated from. But here, after 3 or 4 months of training with Charlie and practicing some really basic moves from our guard and stuff, I had a lot of confidence that I was going to be able to choke this guy if he tested me. So one day he said something to us that I didn't like, and I said, hey, you want to come and try it? And he did. He kind of had to. There was too many people watching the challenge, so he came and tackled me, bull rush tackle, just like typical kind of goon move that you see, really natural. And I was able to grab his neck and throw my legs around him and squeeze the guillotine choke, and the whole thing lasted less than 10 seconds. He tapped out, never gave me a hard time again, and that was a really life-changing moment for me. I started Genesis Jiu Jitsu because it was my passion, it was the thing that I loved doing the most, and I'd always dreamed of finding something like that and being able to work with that and spend the majority of my time doing that thing. And for me, that thing is Jiu Jitsu. And I just wanted to start a place where everyone would really feel welcome to come and train, where you didn't feel like you had to be an athlete or a tough guy, anything like that. Really, everyone can come and train, from kids 4 years, 5 years old, up to adults. We have 60-year-old people training at our gym, and from all fitness levels as well. So that's a big thing that I wanted to start at Genesis, somewhere where even if you're completely foreign to activity or martial arts or anything athletic, certainly anything combative, that we would be able to transition you into loving our sport too.